Welcome back to the working that is Chrononaut Chronicles. My name is Bill. I will be your host for this particular Sonic adventure. The show is sponsored by mysticalwares.com. That's Derek Condit's store. He is not with us today. I have just one other Chrononaut with me later, and that is Ben. And we will hear from Ben in just a few minutes. And before that, though, I do like to glance at the old Farmer's Almanac for the upcoming week before we get started, just so we can point out these different energies that are moving around and be aware of them and hopefully work with them if we want to and capitalize on the different flavors of the week that we're running into or going to come up with this coming week. So not a whole lot going on actually, just Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday is the Moon and Jupiter as a conjunction, and Wednesday is Moon and Uranus. So that's pretty much all that the Farmer's Almanac has in store for us this week. And moving on from there, we go into the gratitude segment. And the goal behind this segment, so the goal behind the gratitude segment is to hopefully make this more than just an exercise, a once in a week exercise, right? We don't come on here just for the heck of it to talk about, you know, things that we love, just to do it and to put it out there and not have a purpose behind it. The purpose is to make the heart and brain connection and keep that coherence going as we go about our week. And then we check back in here on Mondays and talk about more gratitude. That's how we keep the wheel of gratitude going. Speaking of wheels and wheels of fortune, that just reminded me of tarot, and that's my gratitude this week. And Ben and I have been talking a lot about tarot recently. And believe it or not, I started up the card a day practice. That's something that I did for a while when I first started 13 Questions. Ben actually gave me my first tarot deck, so thank you, Ben. And we were talking earlier this week about pentacles. The last episode I published, the title of it was Pentangle, and I've been getting a lot of pentacles on my tarot cards since then. So that's been a little nugget that I just connected, Ben, before we started recording. So Ben, thank you for being here. And what first of all, how are you? And what are you grateful for, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Um, and thanks for opening this space again. I am grateful today for just those small synchros from the universe, letting you know you're on the right path. A lot of repeating numbers lately. I sort of splurged and bent towards gluttony today at lunch, but I've been working really hard, moving a lot of hay bales, and uh, the body was sort of uh, pushing me towards some junk food, but I went ahead and got the large fry and a chocolate shake on top, and the total was a repeating number. So just a nice little wink, like universe approves of uh take not just taking care of yourself, but like a little comfort food, right? And I needed the fat and the salt after a hot day in the field. So it was been having a lot of those lately. So I'm just grateful that I'm uh, able to notice it, acknowledge it, you know, and stay in the flow.
Was the repeating number seven by chance?
No, the total was 1819, I think. So
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Yeah.
I didn't look it up. I just ran with it.
No, it's fine. That just reminds me
And
of what? Oh yeah, that the repeating number, the seven on 7/7 this past week. So it's old news.
mm,
We haven't moved into the new business section yet, but old news. The I have a picture of it on the Telegram. The Schumann resonance actually on that date. It looks like angel wings. looks like a mirror image. So if you've ever seen a Schumann resonance graph, it's just, it's I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's up there on the Telegram. I can try to put it in the chat for Ben. Maybe Ben's on the Telegram though. But anyway,
Yeah, I saw that
did you
too.
see that? Yeah,
Yeah, and it has the that chart or graph has been responding to the extra energies coming in lately in a pretty unique way. It's been fun to watch, not so fun to feel or experience, but um, for the people who are kind of tuned in and sensitive to that, it's uh, nothing new necessarily. It's been a couple years of that that data has really been getting out there and understood more and more. And but it's fun to see it on these bigger days like that portal day that we just passed or entered into, I guess, for the next 10 days or so.
yeah. I've only recently been paying attention to the Schumann resonance and looking at the chart or the graph, the readings or whatever, the readout whenever I can. And I've never seen it do that angel wing pattern. I thought that was pretty unique.
Yeah, the geometric patterns are new, and but so are the energies and the amount of them coming um, in the past few months. So we're really getting supercharged lately.
More to come. Speaking of what's to come, the next segment is what I'm calling for the time being new business until me or somebody else suggests a new and better term for this segment. But the goal of this one, our last goal was to perpetuate gratitude, right? Uh, the goal of this one is to kind of continue learning. I know this does include current events because this is a time. I'm trying to make the show timely, right? So let's talk about the context which we're experiencing, right? But I would like for the point to be to introduce something new, like useful, right? And maybe like oh, that Listerine fact that I had was a good one. So I did see something today. I don't have any sources, but apparently all the shampoo that we put in our hair is owned by BlackRock and Vanguard, and those people apparently don't like us and want our hair to fall out. So yeah, shampoo, shampoo and Listerine, new business, good stuff. But I did have the angel wings thing marked down to talk about, but actually I wanted to bring this next one up last time with Ben because it has to do with John Dee's mirror. So this is a Twitter link. Let me get this opened up. I'll put it here in the chat. So there's a picture. Yep, there's a picture of a obsidian mirror. And this is a historic vids tweet. And it says that in recent research revealed that this obsidian mirror was used by Queen Elizabeth I's famed political advisor and occultist John Dee to speak with angels. It has been determined that the mirror has Aztec origins. Crafted in Mexico over 500 years ago, it has most likely ended up in Europe as part of the expeditions led by Hernan Cortes. And currently it's on display at the British Museum. So John Dee had a diverse range of interests, including astronomy, astrology, alchemy, and mathematics. He served as an advisor to Queen Elizabeth I from the beginning of her reign in 1558 until the 1570s. Dee was also a strong advocate for overseas exploration and the establishment of colonies. In fact, this is not in the tweet, but I do know that the whole idea for the British Empire actually came from Dee. So I think that was a pretty neat little tidbit. But later in his life, he became involved in divination and the occult, seeking to communicate with angels. through the use of scryers, individuals who can divine the future, using artifacts such as mirrors and crystals. Shouting at crystals, yay! Scholars have determined that Dee's mirror, along with another mirror, originated in Pachuca, located just northeast of Mexico City. The third mirror and the slab came from some other place 150 miles west. Both regions were under Aztec control during the early 16th century. The Aztecs regarded obsidian as a protective mineral with medicinal properties, viewing its reflective surface as a shield against evil spirits. This volcanic glass was also associated with death, the underworld, and the capturing of a person's image and soul. Following the invasion of the Aztec capital of Teo, Te, Tenoch, I know how to say this, Tenochtitlan, by forces commanded by Hernan Cortez in 1520 to 1521, treasures, including the obsidian mirrors, were swiftly shipped back to Europe. So they stole them. But yeah, it's a round, um, maybe small watermelon, large in diameter. It's black. It's shiny. But so that's the thing that he used. I've always wondered what, because I've read The Empire of Angels by Jason Louv, and he talks about the scrying stone in there,
Uh-huh.
but I never saw this mirror before.
Yeah, I didn't know Queen Elizabeth had Dee's mirror. That's interesting for a lot of reasons. But also it's acknowledging synchros. I downloaded Twitter just last week um, because Instagram had kicked me out, and I was bending to the phone addiction. So I guess that's why. So I could read that article. That was a good one. Um, and also, I got a piece of Mexican obsidian yesterday
It's great.
at the local gem and rock club mineral show.
Right, you told me.
Yeah, so I was planning on polishing it as well. I've worked with that John Dee Enochian style. Well, I work with my angel, guardian angel, and that opened up that angelic realm um, with in my spirit work. And yeah, I'm excited to see what this mirror will do as I stare into a black mirror of my phone in my hand here.
I bought a chunk of mahogany obsidian the other, it was a month ago or something. But I did have a chance to sit down and like do one of those Neville Goddard type meditations with it, and it was quite pleasant. So I don't know if
Mm.
it's just uh just the effect of me actually sitting down and slowing down and being quiet for a few minutes during the day, or if it's the help from the stone or a little bit of both. But yeah, it's something that I will probably, I don't know, it felt good. I'll probably do it again.
Yeah, it was probably absorbing a lot of stuck energy for you, or moving it at least. I find those absorption stones like obsidian really helpful for that.
Yeah, I picked it up
I
at,
picked up quite a few, not quite a few, several new things yesterday at that show to do much the same with.
yeah, I bought this one at a swap meet from the local gem mineral and rock club up here. I think it was like 20 bucks. It's a pretty good chunk of it. It's like, I don't know, baseball sized. One the other thing I picked up was I think I showed you this, a huge chunk of sulfur,
Yeah,
like $100 chunk of sulfur I got for like
was that Bolivian sulfur? Do you know?
that guy said it came from Mexico, I believe.
Okay,
So not Bolivia.
I almost got a big chunk of Bolivian sulfur yesterday.
That's also supposed to be very absorbing, right? Do you know the sulfur?
associated with Venus.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was I was on online with associated with Venus, and um I don't know its properties actually.
Yeah, it's kind of a from what I was reading, it's kind of like a vacuum cleaner. You put it in a high traffic area so it can suck up
Hmm.
stuff as people walk by. I've got it
Yeah,
in a high traffic area. It's right where it needed to be. I've been looking for a chunk for a while too, so it was kind of a I don't know, not synchro, but just the right divine timing, right?
right. Yeah, I had a piece of selenite that I used for that has turned up missing. So I guess it did its job.
But that's good. No, it's done. Check that off the list. Thanks. Thanks, Rock.
Right.
Speaking of
Yep.
rocks, go ahead.
I had a couple other pieces laying around. So
Oh, you have a plethora. Speaking of rocks, though, and value, right? Because our currency used to be backed by gold or silver, and it was silver, and we got rid of that, and now we're in this weird conundrum with the money situation, right? But I don't really follow the markets or anything too closely. It's not really my infotainment genre, if you will. But I did stumble across this Watcher.guru article about BlackRock's CEO saying that crypto is digital gold and Bitcoin is an international asset. So I just thought that, well, here, let me get through the article. It's just a real short article. It was an interview on Fox Business. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink. Fink is another term for rat, by the way. Um, calls crypto digital gold and labels Bitcoin a digital asset. His quote is, "I do believe that the role of crypto is digitalizing gold in many ways." He says, "Instead of investing in gold as a hedge against inflation and a hedge against the onerous problems of any one country or the devaluation of your currency of whatever country you're in, Bitcoin is an international asset." In saying that Bitcoin is an international asset, BlackRock CEO Fink explains that it can be used as an alternative asset to gold. BlackRock applied for a Bitcoin exchange traded fund last month. Gold has been a staple alternative to physical currency to invest for time. However, with the emergence of cryptocurrency over the past decade, it is quickly becoming an alternative investment as an asset. Bitcoin is the leading cryptocurrency in terms of value on the market, currently priced at it's over 30,000 per Bitcoin. And then the cap is some ridiculously high number that starts with 5, 9, and 2. So the gold thing is interesting because I did see another article a few days ago. I don't have it with me, but about the that BRICS block of countries, they're going to introduce a currency that is backed by gold. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the coming months over the next year. Probably see some big changes. Ben, do you do any crypto? I'm not asking for stock tips or anything, but what are your
I
thoughts?
mean, yeah, I have some. I don't really pay attention to it. It was sort of one of those I'll buy some and just watch it for fun, and then it wasn't all that fun for me. So it's still there. It's doing whatever it does,
Yeah, I went
but
ahead.
I'm not into it. I don't do the investments or markets or anything like that. So
Yeah, I did buy some as well, just to have it, to hold it, right, to sit on it, to as an asset, because if something does go south, there's an alternative avenue enable, which is available for the economy to make stuff happen if need be. So I do think that it's a good backup, but ultimately I think that a gold or a silver standard is probably the best thing to do, which is what those guys in the BRICS, BRICS, BRICS countries are going to do apparently. So yeah, I did uh I did look at my chart the other day, the performance graph for my portfolio, and I have not recouped the amount of money that I bought in at current, yet. So it's been 3 years, 4 years maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I'm still down money. Oh yeah. This next story isn't really a story. It's just a video of a man pouring a can of Red Bull over a car window. Do you want to guess what happens before I put it in the chat, Ben? This is horrible for an audio podcast. But perhaps I will actually upload this one on YouTube and let's go ahead and play it. Anyway, so this is a man pouring a can of Red Bull over the back window of a wagon, right? It's like a five-door car. So this would be the back windshield and pretty much empties, gets the whole can out basically, but then the window shatters. So I decided to call it the Red Bull car window challenge. We can make this a viral thing where we get people to pour Red Bull all over their vehicles and shatter their windows for TikTok views. That sounds like something that would probably take off and happen here in this universe right now. But ever heard of Red Bull breaking a window, Ben? And if you find an abandoned car anywhere, can you promise me to buy a Red Bull from a near gas station and try this?
No, I can't. Um, that I don't understand the physics of it. I know Red Bull is probably not the best thing to ingest, so it's probably not. I don't know. I sort of feel dumber for knowing all of that.
It's kind of like how you can clean a car battery with Coke. It's got to be something similar to that. Like Coca-Cola, right? This next story actually has to do with time and time moving slower at the beginning of time. I'll put it in there for Ben. Oh, we aren't live today, obviously, but normally we would be broadcasting on Cosmic Reality Radio, and there's a chat room there. So normally I'll be posting these links. Well, hopefully in the future, right? But we will still be doing this, right? We'll be posting this in the group chat for everyone to follow along if you're here with us live on Mondays at 7. But this is a gadgetget.com article. It's a 20-year study of 190 supermassive black holes has shown that time flowed 5 times slower at the dawn of the universe than it does now. Albert Einstein proved decades ago that time and space are inseparable. However, because of the expansion of the universe, events that occurred after the Big Bang now appear to have slowed down. As it turned out, time flowed many times slower at the dawn of the universe than it does today. Here's what we know. Scientists at the University of Sydney have come to this conclusion. Their study took 2 decades. During this period, they observed 190 active supermassive black holes at the centers of galaxies. They are emitted by intense irradiation that are called quasars. Scientists observed the distortion radiation of supermassive black holes. The quasars were chosen so that their luminosity varied in the same way. The researchers then calculated the distortion frequencies of the quasars, which are about the same distance away. None of this makes any sense to me, just so you know. It's just what the article says. And lastly, the emissions that astronomers can now detect were emitted 3 to 12 billion years ago. By comparing the distortion frequencies, scientists have found that time went slower in the past than it does now. Specifically, 3 billion years ago, it was 1.2 times slower, and 12 billion years ago, it was 5 times slower. How they get these numbers, I don't understand it, but certainly is interesting just because it seems like as we get older, time seems to go quicker, right? Like each passing year is we all are always saying that I can't believe it's 2023 already, but it seems like when we're kids, like the school year is so long, right? And then when you get to summer vacation, you know it's finally here and it lasts forever and it's great, right? But then as we get older and we repeat the cycles, I guess it's familiarity that might breed that sense of speeding up time. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Do you think that do you know what I'm talking about though when I'm saying that the time goes seems to quicker for us as we get older, Ben? Like does it just
Well,
be
our perception of it can change, yeah, and um, getting into the high strangeness and woo side of things, it is you can manipulate it, and whether or not it is just a perception of linear time acting differently or not, um, there are ways you can, accomplish more in a shorter amount of time, and I think part of what you're getting at, I think maybe to sorry to veer off on that, but it's something I practice fairly often, um, in the mornings with writing and things. Um, but what our perception of time as we age, I think, does change as well, but it's in relation to our like attitude and vibration moving through time and space, if that makes sense.
so if you have a shitty attitude, time will go quicker?
No, I think
Or
it might slow down,
slow down?
with a shitty attitude, but well, it's like, uh, we spoke a few times last winter, and coming into the spring, it was like, man, that was a long winter. No, it was the same amount of winter we always have, right? But we were perceiving it as long. But at this point, months later in, the heat of the summer, I couldn't even tell you how long it was. Right. So it was just we were experiencing because of adverse weather conditions seemed like it took longer, but it's still the same amount.
Less daylight in the winter, though. Maybe that's something to do with it,
Just in the dark more.
right? Yeah. It is interesting, though, that I mean, obviously seasons have their own feelings to them, but I would argue that days of the week also have like different, not only flavors to them, but like feelings. I guess flavor is a metaphor for feeling, but you ever catch yourself saying like, man, it's today doesn't feel like Monday, right? Or it's the weekend and you're thinking, oh, it doesn't feel like Sunday or Saturday. It feels like Wednesday. Like, why does that? Why do specific days have feelings that we're able to remember and then recall them at the time that we have them stored, and then we're able to relate that to another point in time.
Well, I think that would correlate to how you spend your days and the routine that you have with that, right? So if you uh punch a clock and have a 9 to 5, then you're obviously set in that in that pattern, right? But if you work for yourself, and don't have a set work, you know, a set amount of hours or whatever that you're doing, uh, it's always right. It seems like you're always working, or always have the potential to be working. Um, and then you can just check out of that, and it's very easy out in nature to just lose track of time and go back to that circadian rhythm. Like it doesn't matter what day it is. The sun's up, yes, or the moon is full, you know, but that it's there's no you can lose track of that real easy if you want to.
I've been really enjoying the planetary times app though. So like I don't know about losing track maybe isn't I don't know, it's hampering your awareness. Like wouldn't it be better for us to keep an eye on these things? I mean, this is why I do the uh almanac segment, part of the reason, right? But
I mean that gives you a reference point, right? Like you can point to something if you're trying to measure that out, but disconnecting from all of it, in my experience, just allows you to just really be in that eternal now moment. So it doesn't matter if it's, you know, Jupiter's day because it's Thursday, or it's the hour of Mars or whatever. None of that really. I mean, you like it. I'm finding it interesting paying attention to the planetary hours as well, but it's interesting. Does it affect my day? I don't. I mean, if I was going to do a working or something like that, I would want to pay attention to it. But if you're just kind of going about and tending the garden and doing things like, I don't know if it does.
mm-hmm. Hmm. The topic, just the general concept of time itself, I just find very, very fascinating. We just heard Albert Einstein say that it's inseparable from space. And this reminds me of a Ben and I were talking a little bit before we recorded about this idea of four color factions that is posited by Zazel News on Telegram. This is, if nothing else, it is certainly an interesting categorization um, option, right? It's a system to kind of understand different events and happenings and kind of maybe make some more connections behind the scenes. But before, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into that idea right now because I like to have Derek's input on this as well, and Adams and Owens. But the gold faction, there's gold, green, blue, and red, right? And the gold faction or gold wizardry they deal in spirit, dimensions, consciousness, metaphysics, and timelines. And this is all stuff on the Azazel Telegram. So I did link it on our channel, so you can find it through there because there's so much going on in that news channel that's kind of hard to look through. But he says the moderator, whose name is Aries, go figure, is he says that this faction is the rarest in terms of personnel out of all three factions making up the White Hats, the other two being the green and the blue. And he says that they have always stood side by green and blue and fighting for humanity and peace among the other societies on Earth. They run the jumpers, jump rooms, scanners, time tunnels. They've perfected time travel. They also control Nephilim stargates and man-made stargates and regulate the transdimensional transportation, aka portals. And they run all the black sites on Earth. So apparently, the Department of Energy has a lot to do with this. And there's actually a movie that is referenced. These are the four factions that run a lot of things with the realms in a domain they control within the Black Projects. So the White Hats were, like I said, were the gold wizards. Surface, surface and subsurface, where you would find. I'm sorry, that's green wizards. Surface and subsurface would be green wizardry. Gold is spirit, dimensions, consciousness, metaphysics. Blue is space, mountains, and water. Versus the black hats. Those would be the red faction. That's the cult deep state, Illuminati, globalist people. But the movie is The Flight of the Dragons. It's made in 1982, and it's a little kids movie, but it's not really meant for. I mean, it's rated G, right? But if you look past the little kid story, you'll see that it's more like a training project, like a not a project, but an introductory course to maybe show a somebody new to this idea, right? But yeah, that's time. I got all that from time. Started that with interest in time, and it was kind of the a little bit of inspiration behind the name of this show, the whole uh, working with timelines and consciousness, right? Because I like to think that this is what we do here on this show. Because we are, after all, is working, right? We are casting spells. Why not just say it for what it is, right? Speaking of, Ben, did you have any comments on that? It's kind of a lot of left field stuff, but I do have other stories. But
No, I kind of want to watch that movie now, though.
I
Sounds
watched
pretty
it.
fun.
It's a good movie, right? It's a kids movie. Old timey. I do enjoy the animation. The animation style is it just reminds me of my childhood, right?
Yeah, I'm a fan of that genre.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely check
check
it
it
out.
out.
Report back. I feel like there was stuff on the last episode that we said we were going to report back on, but I don't remember what they are. So from now on, I will be sure to keep track of that so I can bring it up in future future episodes. Okay, so just a few more, like three more stories here. This next one is from CNN. I know CNN isn't always maybe considered the fairest source, but this is a pretty cut and dry chicken story. It has to do with Tyson. Tyson is removing their no antibiotics ever label on their chicken. So Tyson's pretty popular, and I know I've ate it before, right? But now that my wife works at a health food store, it's kind of a moot point for me. But I think it's good information to know, just because it's a change in how they're raising the meat. But the company from the article, the company said that the antibiotics it plans to use in chicken production are not important to the treatment of humans. Antibiotic use in food has come under intense scrutiny in recent years, as some bacteria have become increasingly resistant to treatments as a result of frequent exposure to antibiotics. About half of U.S. poultry farmers use some form of antibiotics to help keep chickens healthy. In many chicken farms, animals are raised in crowded and unsanitary conditions and can be prone to disease. At Tyson Foods, we base our decisions on sound science and an evolving understanding of the best practices impacting our customers, consumers, and the animals in our care. Tyson brand chicken will be will begin using a no antibiotics important to human medicine label by the end of 2023. I laughed because I can't believe this is actually like true. That's a horrible. It's like the worst marketing slogan ever. Just from that standpoint, but I can't believe they're actually going to do that. That standard, recognized by the USDA and the World Health Organization, allows for the use of antibiotics that are not crucial to the treatment of human diseases. So the shift to use some antibiotics marks a departure from the company's stance in 2015 when Tyson said that it would eliminate antibiotics from its production of wings, breasts, and nuggets, chicken nuggets. At that time, Tyson said it was concerned about the rise in antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections in humans and wanted to play a role in reducing human antibiotic consumption. There's a quote from the company: "We don't have all the answers, but we want to make sure that antibiotics continue to work." Oh, oh, this guy that said it. So we don't have all the answers, said Tyson's then head of sustainable food production, Christine Daugherty, who now works for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Imagine that. Imagine that. So heads up on Tyson. Just maybe not buy it anymore. I don't know. I don't like to tell people what to do, but I'm certainly not telling you anything that I don't do myself. Do you eat a lot of chicken, Ben? I eat a lot of eggs.
Yeah, not really. Um, I'm a little distracted.
No, it's fine. It's kind of a boring.
Not really, and
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I tried to shy away from all of the factory farm meats as much as I can, actually.
Yeah. Yep. It's just an interesting thing to watch. If anything else, if we're already avoiding it, if you are, this is just maybe some more of um, a sign, maybe that you made the right decision. Maybe. Anyway, enough of that boring old chicken news. I was hoping, here's another story I was going to ask Derek about, but it is the anniversary of the Georgia Guidestone bombings. You remember when that happened last year?
There was a bombing, and then didn't it get struck by lightning as well?
I don't remember if it got struck by lightning. I think that there was some conjecture that it might have been like a directed energy weapon. So like lightning-esque, right?
Okay, yeah, well, I there was a video footage of it or something, uh, of the lightning striker, directed energy weapon, whatever. Cool.
Yeah. So I don't know if Derek could remote view or whatever and see if it was an alien or actual person planting explosives, but that thing is creepy. Like there is a big blood stain on the top of the top the roof slab, right? Some creepy stuff going on with the stones. And I won't bring this up, but I will mark it for next time. You no, maybe I will, but just because you mentioned not swimming in lakes earlier, and I found a very good story about a lake in Russia. I can get to it. And this is all on Telegram. There's just a little blurb here and a minute and 30-second video actually. Let's see if I can. Siberia. Ooh, does work. Okay. I'm going to let's play this real quick just as an experiment because I want to see how it ends up on the recording. And Ben, if you can't hear it, let me know. But maybe and then I'm gonna read the little snippet after it anyway. But yeah, here we go. Siberia, 1982. A research mission. Right. Siberia, 1982. Russian Navy divers are conducting a research mission. 7 Russian divers are at a depth of 50 meters.
when suddenly the frogmen realize they are being watched. These strange humanoid figures were much bigger than human beings. These were large beings, human shaped, but like 9 feet tall, wearing what seemed like very tight fitting silvery suits. Not your normal scuba gear, basically, swimming in the water, what they've come to call the swimmers of Lake Baikal. What were these creatures? Why did they not seem to use what we would be using to sustain life? There were no oxygen tanks. So there are lots of interesting facets to this. You have creatures that are underwater and surviving with technology that we don't comprehend. The Russian divers then make a fateful decision. They try to capture one. The divers attempted to capture one of these creatures, but at this point, so the documents say, the entity's reactive. A powerful, unknown force suddenly propels the entire group of divers up from the deep water to the surface. They did a rapid rise to the surface of the water. Well, when you do that too fast, you suffer from decompression and you get the bends, and it's deadly. There were 7 of these divers, and 3 of them died, and 4 were Siberia.
Okay, so it kind of cuts off the video, but you get the gist. Like they ran into these underwater aliens, tried to capture one, and ended up getting hurt. So maybe that's why. This particular lake, I would not swim in for sure.
Well, it's not just that lake. I think it can be a lot of different natural bodies of water. In my experience with working with uh, the genus loci or local spirits of different places, the lakes can definitely, be a portal or just the water being a medium to transfer the energy through kind of thing. And the deeper they are, the more doorways they can have, I guess a good way to put it. So yeah, I've been guided to avoid swimming in a few different spots and have used some kind of old world magic hagstones or looking through a knothole uh, to see different perspectives, see the different frequencies. And I've seen a few things swimming about that I wouldn't necessarily want to jump in there with either. But I mean, talking about these guys dying, well, they attacked the thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a good lesson and fuck around and find out, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure.
The golden rule goes a long way, including with aliens.
Yeah. So this just to go a little bit more in depth, maybe rehash a little bit. 40 years ago, 1982. Hey, there's a fucking another 1982 hit. That movie was what the Flight of the Dragons was made in 1982. So this happened in 1982. Anyway, the Russian Navy died. Go ahead. You have something else?
No, yep. Go ahead.
No. It says for centuries, Lake Baikal has been home to a plethora of unexplained phenomena. Locals claim countless peculiar UFO encounters frequently occur within this remote region of Russia. Some theorize an alien base is lurking beneath the picturesque exterior. One of the most bizarre reports occurred in 1982 during a routine Soviet military training dive. While navigating the foreboding aquatic realm, Navy personnel noticed anomalous figures swimming nearby. Perplexed, they watched in bewilderment as several curious creatures approached them. Despite being at a depth of over 164 feet, these humanoids wore no modern equipment. Each donned tight-fitting metallic suits, complete with a helmet-like apparatus, completely covering their heads. Upon closer inspection, troops noticed the aliens were nearly 10 feet tall. However, the colossal lock dwellers soon disappeared back into the murky abyss. Following this eerie run-in, the intrigued commander ordered his recruits to capture a subaqueous alien. 7 scuba divers entered the glacial lake and began their harrowing descent. Soon after navigating an elevator of declining temperatures, multiple entities emerged. One frogman attempted to catch the unearthly specimen in a huge net. At that moment, all hell broke loose for the unsuspecting flotilla group. Suddenly, the non-humans fought back by shooting intense sonar waves. A powerful force rendered every crew member unconscious and rapidly propelled them to the surface. Catapulting upwards from extreme depths can have devastating effects on our bodies, resulting in a condition often called the bends. 3 of the squadron were seriously injured, but did not succumb to this affliction. The remaining fellows, indeed, immediate. The remaining fellows needed immediate transfer to a decompression chamber. Unfortunately, there was only one chamber in the region, and it was designed for merely 2 people at a time. Out of sheer desperation, 4 men entered simultaneously in an attempt to save their lives. So, Russia, Lake Baikal humanoids, the swimmers. Apparently, there is a connection to them gifting us with modified Russian honeybees. So this would be another excellent Derek question, which I will definitely mark for next time. Because I did hear that bees were actually gifted to us from entities from Venus at one point, along with the redwoods. I think I read that in Rolling Thunder by Doug Boyd. It's about a Native American medicine man in the West. It's a really good book. Have you read that, Ben, by the way? I'm going to send you this to you if you haven't.
No, I was about to go find a pen to write that down. Just because of the redwood connection. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was that.
That ties into my angelic experience with John Dee and the obsidian mirror. So that's fun.
Redwoods do, or Lake Baikal?
Yeah, redwoods. But I went to the redwoods after I went to Tahoe. So another natural, very deep lake. And spiritually charged for sure. So yeah, definitely send me a link to that book. That'll be next on the reading list.
For sure. I think there have been reports of a UFO base, subaqueous base in like Michigan, which I'm fairly close to, but yeah, I've never seen a UFO. I've seen some weird lights move in different directions in the sky, right? But that could be satellites or whatever.
Well, and they can cloak too, so it's not, it's how they're moving through time and space is not necessarily conducive with how we perceive it. So you don't always see them.
Unless they're hiding in clouds.
But it wouldn't surprise me. That's a big dang lake. So
yeah, it is. It's also a glacier lake. Glacial lake.
Yeah.
So that pretty much wraps up all the interesting tidbits I found on my Telegram perusings this week. I did come across a Ernest Hemingway quote, which I know Ben is a big fan of. No, he says, "There's nothing noble in being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self."
That's a good one.
True words. Should only use yourself as a benchmark to gauge your progress and not other people. Don't put other people on pedestals. Something that came up often, not often, but did come up in 13 questions. That was because we talk about role models, right? It's a good show. If you
he's a good one, not only as a writer, but as a human, as a man. I was reading an instant about Hemingway this week where he was in 2 plane crashes in one day. And the second one, the search party went out and couldn't find him. He was presumed dead. And when they took back off out of this little jungle airstrip, he was seen coming out of the jungle with a bunch of bananas over his shoulder and a bottle of gin in his other hand. So he always made the best of the situation, it seems.
Hell yeah. He didn't spill his drink on the way down. The whole bottle. So this brings us to the third segment, which is the goal behind I haven't really came up with a name for this one yet, really. So this has just been the third segment. This is how I've been titling it in the show notes as well. But the point behind it, right? The goal, the idea is supposed to be empowering, right? It's supposed to remind us of what we are, who we are, what we're capable of, and to remind us that there are no victims, there are only volunteers, and that a lot of this stuff going on in the world is mental, right? Everything is a psyop, literally. Everything's a psyop. Everything is going on inside of your head, and our goal here is to filter out all the voices of chaos, or the mitote, as Don Miguel Ruiz likes to call this concept, all the different opinions and all the different voices in the world dream, called the mitote. Our job is to cut through that and to clarify it and to remember that we are more powerful than we often give ourselves credit for. And this is why I have made the third segment what it is, to help remind not only myself of these things, but also anybody else that might need to hear that for whatever reason or wherever you are on this planet or in your life, whatever time it is. Because much like, uh, what is that book? Man's Search for Meaning, right? Viktor Frankl. The you never know what your piece of bread is going to do for another person, right? I'll have to touch on that metaphor a little deeply next episode, maybe, because it's pretty deep. Actually, I wanted to get a couple of the guys from Amish Inquisition over to kind of talk about that. So maybe I'll set that up for sometime this coming month. But so for what we've been doing recently is Ben and I have been going over the Celestine insights, and we've covered the first 6, I believe. So I thought we'd do 3 more tonight and see if anything jumps out at Ben or I, and see what we can get from 7, 8, and 9th insight. And we did do a little review last time, but I don't really feel like rehashing that, because if you're following along, you're following along. You're part of the journey. So jumping right into the 7th insight. Oh, by the way, the Celestine insights. This is from the Celestine Prophecies by James Redfield, #1 New York Times best-selling author. And he tells the story of finding bits of this manuscript in Peru, I believe. And it's a big synchronistic journey, which I can kind of relate to in my own podcast experience and general life experience. My whole relationship with my wife was one big synchronicity. So that's pretty awesome. And so basically, from this understanding that synchronicity is actually let's not mistake coincidence for fate type of thing. Let's look at some of these other insights. What do you think of that quote, Ben? I've been watching Lost, that series Lost on Amazon, and one of the phrases that's thrown around a lot on that island is not don't mistake coincidence for fate. I think that should be some kind of like philosophical axiom, right?
Uh, Fate's a tough one, and like coincidence or a synchronicity according to Jung, is just a meaningful coincidence. But then another a quote, Robert Wagner Grant, maybe. I heard him say that destiny is the free will of your higher self. So tying that into, fate and destiny. And Jung would say that until you make your unconscious conscious, you'll call it fate. So there is. I don't know if it's all written, right? I think you can surf a timeline that's already been written, and your higher self is in charge, but that you have that free will to deviate and dive into that shadow aspect and let the unconscious rule for a while and see where that goes. So it's the truth lies while the coin is still flipping, I guess.
While it's still in its potentiality state. Everything's potential. Everything's in your mind. It's a mind game. Everything's a psyop. So seventh insight, right? The seventh insight is engaging the flow. Knowing our personal mission further enhances the flow of mysterious coincidences as we are guided toward our destinies. First, we have a question. Then dreams, daydreams, and intuitions lead us towards the answers, which usually are synchronistically provided by the wisdom of another human being, right? Other people create synchronicities for us, right? It's kind of one of the points behind the Celestine Prophecy is to engage with other people so we can trade these messages and get lessons from each other. And we don't know what the other person has in store, like for us to tell us, and we don't know what how we're going to impart a message that they need to hear on them, right? This is where the universe gets creative and surprises you. So following your intuition with our mission in mind, and as our lives move forward, we begin to notice synchronicities aimed at our ultimate calling. In this buildup of consciousness, we become aware of our intuitive guidance at a higher level. Through practicing mindfulness, we can distinguish our thoughts that are intuitions from mere calculative thoughts. Calculative thoughts are words that run through our minds as we make decisions, as though we are talking to ourselves. Intuitions, however, are not part of our deliberation over a problem or goal. Intuitions come from a superior part of our intelligence. They naturally appear in the back of our minds as clarifying ideas on how to proceed. In short, they are ideas that sometimes seem too random, spontaneous, and not logical, but upon greater interpretation, they can be observed to apply perfectly to the situation at hand. Once we begin to identify guiding intuitions in this way, we realize how we have been missing them in the past. One way to clarify the types of thought is to ask yourself, why did I think this now? Once we learn to identify intuitions, we realize how they bring forth synchronicity, another elevation of awareness occurring. First, we receive an intuitive picture, an urge to end or begin something, to solve a problem, or to pursue some line of interest. Then, if we follow the guidance diligently with mindfulness, an important synchronistic breakthrough will take place, thus leading our lives forward to our greater calling. In this way, following our intuitions is the key to increasing our synchronistic flow and maintaining our flow of destiny. How's all that stuff sound, Ben? Kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And I think the more you practice into it, the easier it is for you to see the flow in the universe and just keep in it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that becomes easier as you go along, because once this is expanding awareness is what it's talking about. And it even uses the synchronicity as another elevation of awareness occurring, right? That the mastery of awareness is something that Don Miguel Ruiz talks about. There's three masteries, right? Awareness, transformation, and intent. And this kind of, we're talking about intuition and using our intent to solve a problem, beginner in something, or pursue some line of interest. So we're talking about some masteries going on here, increasing our awareness. And it's not you have to become accustomed to that, I think. And once it's natural to you, it becomes second nature and becomes easier. In theory, right?
Well, you really have to be able to tune out distraction,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's a big one. We'll get into outwitting the devil eventually, and that is all about distraction, cutting through it. And yeah, it's easy to get distracted. Moving on. The eighth insight is the interpersonal ethic. We can increase the frequency of guiding coincidences by uplifting every person that comes into our lives. Care must be taken not to lose our inner connection in romantic relationships. Uplifting others is especially effective in groups where each member can feel energy of all the others. With children, it is extremely important for their early security and growth. By seeing the beauty in every face, we lift others into their wisest self and increase the chances of hearing a synchronistic message. So I like how he pointed out romantic relationships, because this is a this section of the book spoke to me a lot, because it talks about not relying on your partner to make you feel whole, right? It is a distraction of sorts from us connecting ourselves, right, directly to source, to creator. We don't need an intermediary, right? We don't need somebody else to do that for us, right? This is something that we do naturally and by ourselves, and it is good and wonderful, right? So romantic relationships are also good and wonderful, but they should not take the place of how you uh, how you get your energy from the cosmos, right? And then I think there was something else I was going to say. Oh, so the rest of the seventh, or no, sorry, we're on the eighth insight. The rest of it says giving energy increases our synchronistic experiences. Excuse me. Once we clearly see the process of synchronicity, what we observed most often is that people provide many of our synchronistic experiences. Yet sometimes others do not feel comfortable talking to us, related to the commonly used first impression theory. As a result, we end up leaving that encounter feeling as though we missed out on something they were supposed to tell us. We find another step up in consciousness when we grasp the solution to this problem. We must adopt an additional. Oh, I know what I was going to talk about. I'll finish this first, though. We must actively uplift others by visualizing an expression of higher connected consciousness in their eyes and on their face. Continue to visualize them moving above their ego into an authentic, united state. As a result of this, not only is the person lifted into a greater level of experience, they are more likely to intuit some message they have for us. So the thing I was going to mention earlier is that with children, this is extremely important for their early security and growth. Feeling when they're talking about the interpersonal ethic and how we can increase the frequency of guiding coincidences by uplifting every person that comes into our lives, and how this is uh, important for, development. And I can't see how forcing child or anyone around a child to wear a mask for their development during their developmental years is going to help that that baby, read emotion on people's faces. I just don't see that going very well. So I don't know. That's just something that popped out to me while reading through this. The other thing I'll share before going on to the next one is that when we visualize the other person in their highest expression of themselves, right? And we uplift them, we're bringing them up to that, moving above their ego into an authentic united state, it says. This reminds me of the Twin Hearts meditation, which has you imagine somebody that you love, anybody that you love, imagine that person and then imagine that person happy and smiling. That's part of it. It's a guided meditation, right? So you're elevating that particular person above, their ego and to their highest, most perfect self. So that this kind of, I don't know, just drawing some lines of connecting dots behind in my head. That's all. Ben, did you have anything pop out to you from the eighth insight?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. It might have gotten a few like dug up a few nuggets from my past that I'm gonna have to sit with later on, but yeah, you covered it well.
Good stuff. Something to chew on later, even. Cool. So the ninth insight is the emerging culture. This will be the last one that we do for this episode, guys. And then we'll do the last three next episode. So the ninth insight is, as we all evolve toward the best compilation, oh, I'm sorry, as we all evolve toward the best completion of our spiritual missions, the technological means of survival will be fully automated as humans focus instead on synchronistic growth. Such growth will move humans into higher energy states, ultimately transforming our bodies into spiritual form and uniting the dimension of existence with the afterlife dimension. Uniting this dimension of existence with the afterlife dimension, thus ending the cycle of birth and death. So, kind of getting a little culty here. Seems like. Is it just me? No. Yeah, so that's interesting that we're going to transforming our bodies from material into spirit form and uniting dimensions. So sounds like some pretty heavy gold faction shit to me.
That's kind of the new age, new earth idea, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's just also called death. So,
Well, this says it's going to end the cycle of death and birth, and death. But
oh, right.
uh, yeah, but let's finish here and we'll see what else it says. See what we can take away from it. Fulfilling human destiny. We can now see how if everyone were practicing this virtue of uplifting others, we would quickly accelerate the spiritual transformation of the world. It works this way. When someone uplifts us, we feel it as increased energy because we receive a greater experience of the divine mind. When we return this energy, it moves our heightened energy back into them. Both people during doing this creates a hothouse effect back and forth, where both people feel their divine connection getting stronger and stronger. Think of where two gather phenomena. When this goes viral, then everyone can quickly identify their life missions and can synchronistically move to the right place of service. As we embrace a continuous experience of synchronicity, millions of individuals will be unleashed to follow their destinies, and we will find a place. We will all, and we will all find a place in the working world which is in need of freedom from corruption. In this way, all the institutions of life are moved toward a perfect level of functioning. Capitalism itself, business at every level, food production, the problems of poverty, chemical pollution, and government regulation will all become enlightened. This enlightened conscious evolution works because it happens through an effort all at once, replacing the top-down efforts by corrupt governments. The result is an economic development that frees up more and more time for individuals to pursue higher energy states directly with others. Eventually, the basic needs of humanity can then all be automated and provided as we focus on synchronicities that will carry us to ever greater spiritual consciousness. Over time, such growth will transform us into a spiritual form and unite our current dimension with the afterlife dimension, ending the cycle of birth and death. Humanity's destiny is, gradually, to bring the intelligence that inspires the heavenly realms into the earthly domain. And that's what it says about the ninth insect. So there's that the whole thing about ending birth and death again. And this I will say that reading the book, because I've actually read the book, right? It is kind of I want to. Oh, I can't believe I just did a lip smack there. I'm gonna have to mark that for edit. But the capitalism is the book is not very pro capitalist. I'm not saying that I'm super pro capitalist either, but you can definitely read into the that agenda at work there. Not to say that it's good or bad. It's just simply something that I noticed. And the other thing that popped out to me is the automation of the workplace, right? This book was written in early 90s, Ben, 80 something, maybe. Remember?
Yeah, it was in early 90s, I'm pretty sure. But and it's a great, explanation of evolution moving towards utopia. There's a lot of stories about that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not all wrong, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the more that idea keeps getting into the zeitgeist, the faster it appears in reality, right? So I think it's just part of the story and part of the cycle, and people have been picking up on that for a while. 2023 is the year George Jetson was born, so we're well on the way.
Right. Yeah. So, uh, yeah, it talks about people having more time to do this work of connecting with other, our highest selves and improving society in general for the whole, having more free time to do this. And it talks about a fair workplace and all this stuff. But I just think it's interesting because it is like it that has become true, right? Our workplace, some of it, has been automated to an extent that people now do not have jobs that did have jobs before. And luckily, I'm not in that number, but I did see my company move towards automation recently, right? Hopefully, it didn't affect me too much. I do work with the software that does the automated thing, so there's always got to be somebody to run, push the button, right? But it's just interesting that it's talking about this type of thing all the way back when the internet was still on dial-up, right? Like we couldn't see how far it was going to go within 20 years, right?
Well, and it just does keep getting faster, right? The technology. So I can see us moving towards better things, but you first got to tear down the old before you can
Yeah.
get the new. And I think that's sort of what we're experiencing. Not I don't It's not sort of, that's what we're experiencing now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there is sort of the feel of that collective unconscious shadow coming out and being exposed, and we're dealing with it. and you got to feel it to heal it, right? So we're not quite yet at just hot boxing good vibes everywhere we go, but uh I can see it for sure, and it is part of this spiritual evolution of humanity that has come in waves over history and just keeps building and seems to be traveling at roughly the same speed as technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Technology transfers. There's that whole Promethean archetype there. Technology and freedom. It's all very, very interesting concepts, topics to ponder on. But yeah, it's prophetic, right? It was prophetic. The
Oh,
Celestine
for sure. Yeah,
Prophecy.
that book was
Right
an
on.
oracle for sure.
So we will do the last three insights next week, and then we're gonna have to figure out something else to do for the third segment. But Ben, you mentioned how we have to witness the system crumble, right? It's got to fall apart before you can rebuild it back. I drew the tower card the other day in my daily card of the
Yep.
day. I draw two cards, right? So they can talk to each other. Thanks, Susan Chang, for that suggestion.
Yep.
But yeah, so one of the things about the tower card is it's often looked at as negative, right? But there's lightning striking the tower, right? And so when the air is full of lightning, right? What is everybody's been out before or after a storm? Like it's electrical, right? There's a lot of potential in in the air, and that potential is what's going to be used to build back whatever was destroyed, right? That the tower. So bad card in general, I guess is the consensus, but there is a silver lining to it, and that's like that for I think every tarot card, right? Even the good cards, like too much sun can burn you. So
Well, and I mean, that just gets to the duality and polarity argument, right? Like good and bad is just how you view it. So,
relative. So
I mean, yeah, the death card is one of my favorites, and I'm not scared of that reaper with the scythe at all, right? He's just the gardener, and he's got to cut away all the dead stuff so that the new life can grow through. Much like that lightning storm, a thunderstorm charges up the ions in the air, and um, you'll notice like everything greens up after the thunderstorm because there's interacting with different particles in the air and the soil, and uh, just like you said, it's you gotta you gotta bring down the old tower or cut away the dead wheat, right, so that new stuff can grow in or build back. So those scary archetypes, I guess, uh, I've moved from fear to excitement when I see that stuff because I know something new and better is coming in.
it reminds me of Freeman Fly's tagline of "Wonder without fear," right? There's no fear here. It's just love, just gratitude. That's what we're all about here. And speaking of spreading the love, there is a free service that Derek offers on his website, mysticalwares.com, and it is based off of Royal Raymond Rife's uh, frequency technology, right? So he has a scalar energy device there in his shop, and he does a weekly group session for anybody that signs up through his website. And this week is just overall well-being, and you can sign up for free. It's like going through the checkout process, but you're not actually buying anything. And as it starts on Fridays around 11 a.m. my time. But yeah, sign up for it. See, you can sign up for a text or an email reminder as well. So if you don't want to set your own reminder, that's helpful just to take notice of when it starts. And if you feel anything different, if nothing else, it can be an interesting experiment. I have been forgetting to sign up myself, but I'm going to do it this week because I have the page up and I'm looking at it right now. So definitely don't pass up that free energy goodness there. And be sure to follow the show on our social media. I guess join the Telegram channel. It's really the only thing I'm doing right now. We do have YouTube and Instagram. So yeah, give those a like and a follow. Subscribe to the podcast. Haven't been asking for anybody to share it yet, so I'm going to change that and yeah, spread it around if you like what how we're running things here and you think somebody else needs to hear this piece of bread, going back to the man's search for meaning reference there. Got to remember to call those guys over in England, get them to talk about Viktor Frankl a little bit. I think that'll be a good third segment to do. Yeah, we'll make that into a third segment, I think. But yeah, anyway, Chrononauts, until next time, Carpe Diem.